Grab a cup of joe and let's gather round that hay bale. With your hosts, Ann from Andale Homestead, Cayce from Ormsby Farms, Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch, and Sandi from Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona. Here they are. Hey, y'all, hey.
Hey, y'all, hey. It's Ann with Andale Homestead.
What's up? It's Cayce on the struggle bus hitting that mute button over at Ormsby Farms.
And this is Sandi from Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona.
And I'm Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch. Okay, so we're at part 2 of why you don't want to be a prepper. You don't want to just be called a prepper. You don't want to be just an ordinary prepper. We're telling you what we think and how we feel about the whole just being called a prepper. We think it should be more of like a prepared homesteader or just a prepared person. And this is part 2. So if you missed part 1, make sure you go back, check out part 1. And if you're listening now and you want to like see our beautiful faces, then come on over to YouTube because we are here in YouTube land as well. But if you're just like listening to us and it's just podcast mode, that's totally fine because there's going to be a lot of great information that we're going to give you, because in the first episode, we really discussed what the difference between a prepper and a homesteader is, and being a prepared person, a prepared homesteader, because there's a big difference between the two and they do bleed into one another. But in this episode, we are really going to talk about the skills, and we're going to tell you what you should prep when you are learning the essential skills you need. We really do believe there are several skills. There are lots of skills that you need to have as a homesteader. I have a few that I'm really firm with when I'm talking to people. If you're getting into homesteading, you're getting into raising your own animals or your own food, there are lots of things that I think you need to have. And I'm just going to be firm about it. You need to be able to do X, Y, and Z. And I think we're going to share those with you today and what you need to do and how you can be a prepared homesteader. So we gave you the prequel to that in the last episode. And now we're going to tell you how to do it. We're going to give you some solutions. So Cayce, I want to be prepared. I want to get out in my garden and I want to grow because I need to be a prepper and I need to put all these things away. But the problem with being overkill in the garden is what? Tell me, what do you think about that?
Well, I think going into whether it's garden prepping or any of those prepping, let me first just say, anytime we go into our episodes, most of us, Sandi's really good about doing notes before our episodes. She is the note girl. I was like, I'm going to be Sandi today and I'm going to have my notes. Now I did a little bit of research, just this much, on skills that you should have. And one thing that I read is that you should give yourself a year. Give yourself one whole year and document everything. Now, I want you now, if you are listening or if you're watching us, grab a notepad because this episode is going to be informational, jam-packed deliciousness.
Yes.
For a whole year, how much hand soap do you go through? Laundry detergent? How much food, whether it's canned tomatoes or tomato sauce? Food-wise, what do you go through? I'm trying to think of other little. If you have a wood-burning stove, how much wood do you prepare for a whole entire year? And have that book right by you. At the end of the year, you know, okay, I truly, as a family of 2, went through 12 quarts of diced tomatoes, whatever it is. I'm just throwing a number out. So that you're not going into canning trying to be cute and appease everybody on Instagram. If you can't see, if you're listening to it, I'm pointing to myself, and doing 4 billion quarts of tomatoes just because it looks pretty on Instagram. You're actually using your space and your jars and your knowledge and the way that you do stuff wisely.
Yes.
Because you're wanting to prepare, I think, and this is after having a conversation with the 4 of us off camera, certain things, yes, you may want to prep in advance. Do any of the 4 of us want to grow sugarcane and go through all of that to get sugar? Not really. I can't. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of shaking heads, and yeah, shaking head. Okay, so I can speak for all 4 of us that we're saying no. Maybe you want to prep sugar in advance, 1 year, 2 year, maybe even 3 years of sugar to make sure you have enough sugar. Flour is another thing because I'm not going to grow all that wheat and have to grind it down and do that to get the berries, so on and so forth. But tomatoes, I know how to grow a tomato. I can confidently say on this podcast, I have grown tomatoes successfully and I have saved the seeds. If you have that skill set, you only really have to prep for a year. And really, you only have to prep for 10 months because 2 of those months is your growing season and you're going to be eating fresh. So what I'm looking at my notes now and I'm saying, all right, Cayce, how many diced tomatoes or tomato sauce or whatever tomato product I'm looking at did I use in the month of September through April? We'll just say, I'm just throwing numbers out. I think it's a little bit later than that before I put stuff in. And then I know how much to grow for next year. I'm only prepping for a year, 1 year for canned food and even soaps. I make my own soaps. There is no reason that I'm sitting down and I'm making bar soaps for 10 years. Now the soap is better if you let it cure for a while. So I'm going to say that. But
Here for a minute.
You have that knowledge. Like you can say, yes, and I know how to make that soap. I don't need to prep that far in advance. But right. I mean, Sandi, what's your thought on that for the prepping for 2-3 years for like wheat and sugar compared to 1 year for food?
Definitely. You have to know the shelf life of a product that's going to go into your pantry. Can you store it in a Mylar bag with an oxygen absorber to make it last longer? Yes. But like regular bags of sugar will last you, they'll stay good. If there's no moisture getting in there, they will stay good for years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just think you have to look at what are you really going to use? What does your family like the vegetables that you're growing?
Right.
Because it's fun to try a different vegetable. It is. And do I grow some weird vegetables sometimes? I do because it's fun and crazy. But are those things that I'm going to put in my pantry? Probably not, because it's not something that we're going to continuously eat. And Cayce is so right. If you know where your expenditures are going, then you know what you need to prep for.
Right.
So why waste your space and your time and your energy and the cost of water? And so why waste that? Only grow what you want to, that your family will want to eat. And I think you and Worth do that.
We do. We have a pretty boring garden because we don't have a whole lot of new things that we grow, but we do grow things that we eat, which is great. We have a rotation. It's actually a 3-year rotation in our pantry where I go through and see just how many jars of whatever we have that we have used or utilized. And if I've got a whole bunch of 2023s still going on, and then I've got some 2024s, and I know 2025 is coming along, then I know that I'm not going to need to prepare that much of that particular vegetable. We have too many collards, y'all. Anybody need a quart of collards? Because I got you some collards over here at the Land of Plenty. What we have learned as far as prepping and what we're talking about being prepared, really it's knowledge to me. And we have discussed the difference between a diehard prepper and a prepared person, homesteader and or person. It doesn't matter really, because you can homestead in an apartment.
Sure.
And in my opinion, this is something that's fairly new to me, and it's knowledge of herbs and knowledge of medication. When back when we had the episode of everything shutting down, I was concerned. I took a lot of medication. I was worried that I wouldn't be getting that, and that the drugstores wouldn't be available. Not that the stores would be closed, but that they couldn't get my medication that I was coming in. It was like, nice knowing y'all. But to learn to grow the herbs that are natural, that do the same thing as the medicine that I have. And you can see all behind me, I have all kinds of oils and butters and lotions and things that I have made, but it's the knowledge that I've gathered. This will be gone in no time. But to know that I can make it is an infinite amount of time. And that's what's important, I think, for all of us. And so, Monica, you were sharing with us that there was a time when you told me anything you have on your farm or your garden or your homestead, you need to know what to do with it from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
And you shared with me a little something that I need to know on everything that I have in my
Yeah.
home.
Yeah. So Cayce showed us the money fingers, the money hand, because, we learned right away
Payroll.
everything in your farm, on your household, anything that you have is on the payroll. Now, Cayce and Ann, I'm sure, are like expert record keepers. And I don't know if you, but I ain't got no time to keep all them records. Like, these people
Sandi
love
is
it.
the expert. She
Me,
keeps
I'm not doing it. I'm like, look, I'm gonna write it down. This thing's gonna go. This thing's gonna scatter. It's gonna be in the trash or like under the bed somewhere by the time I'm finished. But I will say I do keep records of certain things, and that's a skill that I'm going to be working on because everything is on the payroll. And I am getting better at keeping records of animals. I keep records of my animals and when they're born, how long they're putting out for us and giving us certain things. But we do keep records of certain things. I keep garden records. Mama don't have time to keep records of her pantry right now. I just know that if I run out of something, I'm going to grow it or get it again. But that's just me. I'm going to try it. I'm going to do better with that this year. But I told you, Miss Ann, I said, look, if you have something, then the most respectful thing to do and the best way to be a steward, a good steward over what God's given you is to know how to handle it. Not at the beginning, just the beginning, but at the end as well. Because we don't get these cute little baby chicks or little baby bunnies, or we get new calves or piglets or whatever it is. And they're super cute and we love them. And then it's time to say goodbye. And we want someone else to take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not fair to that animal because it is your job to take care of it. Just like I wouldn't be like, oh my goodness, my dog is sick. I need to take it to the vet. But I can't handle it. I'm gonna call my neighbor and be like, "Can you take my dog to the vet because I think she needs to be put down?"
Mm-hmm.
That's not for them to do. That's my job. Mm-hmm. And we look at our animals and our pets as separate than the rest of our animals, and we need to look at it all together and say, "Look, this is an animal, or this is a garden. This is something we're responsible for." And it's on the payroll. It's giving us something back, and we're responsible for it at the end. And so just like I told you before, you've got to know how to process your animals at least one time. And you don't have to do all the parts. You just need to be a part of that. And know.
Yeah, I do need to know.
And you do. And to be confident.
Not my personal ones.
Well, and yeah, that's a great skill to have. You go somewhere and you learn that with someone else's. And that way, if something happens and you have to be the one to end the life because they're in pain. I'll never forget. I had some chickens and they had gotten attacked by a dog. And I came inside and I'm like, hey, and I told my oldest son, I was like, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to go. I'm cleaning up. I'm doing this, but I need you to go out there and put this chicken down. It's in pain. I need you to put it out of its misery, please. I can't do it. I'm working on this. Can you go do it? And he was like, Mom, just let it be. It'll be fine. And I'm like, no, it's gonna die. I need you to, it cannot breathe right. I don't want it to suffer. He's like, I can't. And I was like, what? He was like 16. And I was like, okay, but you've done it. You've helped do these things. Can you just, he's like, I can't. And I was like, okay, he's 16. I can't put that on my kid. He's a minor. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I walked over to my 14-year-old and I said, can you help me? He said, I got you, Mom. He went out there and did what I needed to do while I finished doing, because I was tending to ones that were still alive and doing well. Right. And so it was a culmination of, I need your help right now. Can you do it? And he grabbed the moment and said, I'm going to go do it. It wasn't his favorite thing to do. And it's not something where I'm like, oh, my kids know how to process animals. No. We're not like, but we all feel very responsible for these animals. And in that, we know on the farm that if we need to help out or we need to do something. Now, I don't pressure my kids. I don't. But I will say that my kids are out there and they're knowing, they're learning. When we process rabbits, they're a part of the entire thing from beginning to end. If they want to get their hands in there and learn, we give them the resources and we give them the tools so that they can get in there and do it from beginning to end if they want.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't, they can sit back and they can be an observer and they can learn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that they can finish. When Eric accidentally severed a vein Christmas, 2 Christmas ago, Christmas Eve, we were processing our turkey.
Yeah.
Or the next day.
Yeah.
He basically cut a vein completely in half. And in that moment, my 8-year-old, my 10-year-old, my 14-year-old, he was 13 at the time, they all jumped in and said, we can do this. They went through the motions. Not only did they help their father put a tourniquet on his arm until I could get to him and help him because I wasn't even at the place. My daughter jumped in, and when I took him to the ER, they processed the turkey while we were gone.
Right.
We did all the work from start to finish, and I have been proud of my children, but I will tell you, I was so proud. Not because they had a great time butchering a turkey that was for dinner.
Right.
But because they knew how to jump in and handle the situation, and they knew how to work together as a team and pull together and do something that was important for us and our family on our homestead. And there's no when we process animals and we do that, we're not like running around having a party. it's we've done it in big groups and we're talking and we're enjoying one another's company, but it's a thing. We take care of the food that we're eating. And this is a big deal for us.
Right.
And so sometimes people have these big get-togethers. Cayce did it before with his animals, right? You have a big get-together of people and you come together as a group and you take care of it. And it's not like, you might be laughing and joking with one another, but it's not about what you're doing. It's about the fact that you're proud of all these things that you've done.
Right.
But you really should learn that skill as a homesteader.
And it goes back to learning, because I think this episode is all about the skills that you should know. And before I even had my meat chickens, me and Monica had that conversation. She was like, bruh, if you're going to have chickens, you need to know how to
Process.
1, how to hatch them. 2, how to end it if it gets into a certain situation. And I think that's a skill. If you are a meat eater, if you are listening to Around the Hay Bale and you eat meat and you want to have those meat animals on your homestead, as Monica said, to be a good steward to that animal, you should at some point, at least once, learn how to incubate those eggs to hatch the chicks. I think one time you need to go through raising them to a certain age, because you get a lot of knowledge that you can't get from just watching one of your favorite YouTubers do it on a video.
Right.
And then at the point when they're ready to be processed, you need to be there for a processing. Now, listen, when I was there for our meat chickens, I didn't do all of it. I did one. I had the cojones to process one of them. Process dispatch.
Start to finish.
I was able to pull guts and feathers all day, every day.
Yeah, I could do that for it. That
doesn't bother me. But one thing that me and one of my friend's wives said, that we want to go into this knowing how to do it if a significant other was not at the farm that normally does it.
Yeah.
If Worth is at a friend's house or out doing something, can you stop and do it yourself? That would be,
because I totally depend on him. He's the hunter. He's the fisherman. He's the one that cleans the fish and cleans whatever he may capture in hunting. But
having the knowledge, I think, makes you feel stronger too. Even if you don't do it all the time, you don't have to do it every single time. But you knew how to do it at least once.
Yeah,
makes you feel a little bit stronger as a homesteader.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah, I did that. Do I want to do it again? No.
Right.
It wasn't fun.
But But that's such a good skill to have. It really is, knowing how to do those things. And there's lots of places you can learn that. If you don't have the chance, Miss Ann's not going to just be like, all right, one of you girls, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, I got to practice. That's not happening.
Volunteers?
Yeah, anybody want to go? But you can find places if you want that hands-on. Find a group of people that are maybe getting ready to do it. We're getting ready to process rabbits soon. And one of our friends over another YouTube channel, John and Sarah, it said to me, hey, I think we were looking at maybe doing rabbits in the future. Can we come watch you process or maybe learn? I'm like,
Sure.
Let's go. We've done skill shares where we've gotten together here in Texas and we've done processing. We've done canning. We have systems in place where we can gatherings where we can share the skills and share the knowledge we have so that you have the opportunity to do it and see it hands-on. So find those places, find that community that will work with you to help you gain those skills. It's super important. If you don't have the skills to process or record keep, it's those skills too. Maybe you're not a good record keeper. Find somebody who is and be like, how do you keep records on your rabbitry? I'm not good at that. Well, let me show you what I do. Because when you find people that are good at something, usually they want to share it. People always like to share what they know, and sharing your skills is a big deal. And, seed saving, canning, making tinctures, dehydrating, preservation, soap making, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be just the extreme processing animals. Maybe how do you use what you're growing? How do you preserve it for long term? Yeah. Raising animals from start to finish. I want to raise goats. How do I do it? I don't know the first thing about goats. Find someone that has goats and ask them, can I pick your brain? Can I take some notes? Because I saw it on YouTube and it looks easy, but then you get into it and you're like, oh my gosh.
Well, and as we talked about doing it for a year, I have a question for all three of y'all. I think if you start off slow during that year of gaining certain knowledges, like do all four of us, do we all know how to make bread? If we were in dire states where we had to make our own bread, could all four of us throw a loaf of bread together?
Yeah, not good.
Great for yes.
Good, but I could. Yeah.
Okay, so that's one of the smaller ones. Okay.
Yeah.
Another one, canning. All of us have canned. We could can if we needed to. Canning, gardening, I throw into the same. Have all of us incubated eggs before?
Yep.
No.
Well, because I'm going to be taking some eggs to Miss Ann, so she's going to be incubating soon.
Oh, I'm so excited. I have my incubator already.
But start slow. And
but I don't have that knowledge.
I'm so excited for Miss Ann to incubate these eggs.
It's going to be so
coolest
fun.
thing ever. But starting slow. Don't feel that, okay, in this first year, as I'm learning all these skills, okay, I need to learn how to process a pig from start to finish. Settle down, Maria. Okay. We're not that hardcore. You'll get to it.
Yeah.
But
I want to turn the page just for a second. Guess what I had to learn how to do just in case I was home alone? I had to learn how to start and run and hook up our generator.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. That's a skill.
I never did it. I never did it before. I always planned on Worth doing it. My husband always took care of all that stuff. We have a wood stove. I went out and got him to teach me how to split wood without chopping my foot off. And so that was important. These are things that I don't ever want to do on my own. And as long as he's around, I will gladly pass the torch. But I needed to know for me to be able to split a piece of wood and to be able to have some kindling ready for the wood stove and to be able to start a generator, for goodness sake. So
Well, I had to run the tractor a few weeks ago. And let me just tell you the amount of pride that I had when I went out there and started it up, picked up hay bales and dropped 3 hay bales for my cattle. It felt so stinking good. Of course, then I told Eric what I did. And he was like, well, did you do this, this, and that? I was like, oh, forget it. I'm never helping you again. But, but it felt so good to be able to do that. And I will gladly let Eric take care of it from now on. But at least I know. Right, I can do it.
I'm glad that you learned how to split firewood, and because one thing that I want to learn is I am awful at starting a fire.
Oh, you need to know.
cannot. My best way to start a fire is getting one of those logs in a bag at the grocery store and
Gotcha.
lighting the corner.
Casey.
There
I
is an
know.
art. It is an art. And
I'm
you just
telling you,
have to
if I didn't have
practice.
a match,
We
don't
need a
send
whole
me back in
episode.
Outlander. Don't send
We
me
need
back
a
in
whole
the 18th.
episode on fire starters is what we need to do.
We
All the
do.
different fire starters. We got to do that because
And I watch Anne. I do. I watch her. Are you ready?
Hmm.
Videos. I just have never started my own fire before, and
Well,
now
now I have a terrible
I-
time with flint sticks. I have a terrible time with flint sticks. I have arthritis in both wrists, and to be able to be coordinated enough. So what do? I bought like I've got like 25 lighters in my house because every time I went to the store, I bought a lighter because I thought, if it goes out, I might not be able to get another one. So I just bought a whole bag full. Not all at once, everyone. I didn't buy 25 lighters in one stop. I would buy them over a period of time so that I would gather enough. But there are various things, magnifying glasses, a bottle of water, all kinds of things
yeah.
that you can use to start a fire. So, Sandy, what do you think as far as a skill that would be important or something that you were thinking of? We're talking about having knowledge to be able to be prepared for self-sustainability.
Well, I do think that you need to have a certain amount of medical knowledge. I mean,
Yes.
you don't have to do surgery, but I think you need to know how to clean a wound and disinfect it and how to bandage it.
Absolutely.
What to do. And because on a homestead or an apartment, things happen. People cut
Mhm.
themselves, people fall, so I think you should have a certain amount of knowledge and then have a medical book that's on your shelf.
Right.
Just in case the ambulance can't come right away, you can flip through that, see what you can do to help that person. But as we're talking about being a prepared homesteader and all the different things that all of you guys have said, everything on your homestead is a tool. Everything that you do is a tool to make you successful. If it's learning that skill of how to garden, how to can, how to prepare your chickens from start to finish. And like Monica, she says she's a bad record keeper, but almost all of us have a phone, and we have apps that are called notes. And you could put a headline and you could write chickens. And every time you're at your coop doing something you want to remember, you can just pull out your phone and type that in there. It's going to stay forever.
Right.
And that way you're using the skills that you're doing and you're using your phone as a tool. Because I always tell people money is a tool. You can use it for good. You can waste it. You can do whatever you want, but
Right.
it's still a tool. And everything that you learn on your homestead to make yourself successful, if you practice that, you can teach that to somebody else. Because like you can feed somebody a fish, that old saying, but if you teach them to fish, they can feed themselves their whole life. So what kind of tool, what kind of skill do you have that you could teach other people to make them successful as a prepared homesteader?
I agree completely. I agree. It's incredibly important to be able to know that this is all. I mean, yes, we can go and purchase all kinds of things, but to be able to know how to do it. And when you talk about starting to finish with animals, it's starting to finish with your garden as well. Our first garden, I didn't know how to preserve, so we ate what we ate. And everything else went to waste. If I couldn't give it away to somebody, it was wasted. And then when I realized how much work it was to garden, because although I love it, it is work. Don't let anyone fool you. It is a job. Then I thought, well, dang, I'm not going to do all that and not have something later to speak for myself, having done all that. And also, it came into the area where we needed to prep to be able to preserve. So It is just about our time. We are just about ready to close out this episode of why you don't want to be a prepper and just how to prepare. And so we appreciate all of you so much for being here at Round the Hay Bale. Hey, y'all. Hey, Homestead Heroes Season 6. And we're just so excited to be here. Every week we will have a podcast every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. We will have a live broadcast where we recap what our podcast was of the week of the days prior. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll talk to y'all soon now. Bye, y'all. Bye.